Okay, folks, welcome back to the next session. Next up, we're going to start having a look at competitor analysis. It's obviously really important in business that when you're pitching yourself, that you know who your competitors are, and you also know how you differentiate yourself from your competitors and why people should choose you rather than some of them. You're going to get customers asking you, why should I transact with you? Why should I deal with you? So you need to be very aware of who your competitors are and what you do that's better than them and how you're positioned against them. And we spoke about this earlier in the kind of elevator pitch section when we spoke about why you, and we had some great examples in the exercise earlier with 40 years experience or a unique insight, field operations, special services training, whatever it might be. So firstly, what I'd like you to do is I want you to spend a couple of moments just having a look at who else is in your business and who are the competitors, who are the top 10 competitors that you are up against. So I want you to go consciously find who are 10 other businesses that provide the service that you offer, and tied in with that, then what we're going to do is I want you to look at, and so pay attention to this as you're going through this, because I also want you to look at the strengths and weaknesses, probably the top 5. Probably don't have the time to do this on the top 10, but as you're going through and you're finding your 10 competitors, have that at the forefront of your mind. Like how are they setting out their stall? What is the USP? What is special about them? And think about some of the USPs we spoke about earlier. So it could be the price, could be that they claim to be the cheapest supplier of blankety blank in the country, could be speed, as in they get you the product or service the fastest, or they get you the fastest results, could be reliability, could be quality, could be experience, could be professionalism, could be unique skills that you just can't get anywhere else. No one else can do what they do. No one else can do that particular thing. So have that at the forefront of your mind. So spend a couple of minutes and share in the chat box when you've had a little look at your competitors. So find who 10 of your competitors are, and then for 5 of them, what I want you to do is to write down what their positioning is. So what are their strengths? And we're going to use this to think about, okay, how are you going to position yourself against these competitors? And is there a way that you could find a weakness in their armor, if you like? Because they might be really good at one thing, but not good at something else. And often a great way to compete in business is to go in and actually have a number of strengths. So this is what we did with the Songwriting Academy, which is one of my businesses in the music industry. We did this exact exercise. We looked at all of the music education providers that we could find in the UK. And then we looked at each one and said, okay, what do they do really, really well? I'll give you some specific examples. So, for example, some of them had top staff that were, they'd been the top of the game in the industry and had #1 hit records. So that was their USP, whereas other training organizations didn't actually seem to have anyone that had any chart success. But some of them might have had an amazing campus with latest tools and technology available for teaching music stuff. So that was it. That was the USP they had, which was about an amazing campus, amazing equipment. Other ones had a USP, which was the sort of comprehensiveness of the training. So some were a one-trick pony just with one course, but others had a whole range of training. So the kind of breadth of experience, breadth of training was another differentiating factor between companies. So what we did is we kind of drew up this list of strengths of the different businesses in music education, and then we used that as the sort of blueprint to build our own Songwriting Academy. And we basically just took the sum of all of the strengths of all of the others, and we made sure that we didn't have any of the weaknesses of the others as well. So basically we positioned ourselves as the best on a number of different levels. So for example, on staffing, we decided right at the start, we were only going to staff our business with people that had massive chart success. So every one of our mentors at the Songwriting Academy, we've got about 50 of them now, have all had significant chart success with named artists. We haven't got anyone that's just a theorist. They're all hit music industry people. So that's one USP for us. The other thing about the sort of campus and location side of things, a couple of the competitors had quite cool locations, had quite well-equipped places. Some didn't. But we realized that's like a massive overhead. So what we did is to be really dynamic and actually just hire venues for a course. So what we do is instead of owning an expensive recording studio facility, we've literally just hired a top-end studio for a week to run an intensive course for a week in the studio. So we get the best of both worlds. We get the amazing location, and in fact, then we get a better location than others have got. So we hired one of the studios that Adele used for one of her albums, for example. So we've literally got the room where Adele recorded her album. That's our venue for our teaching course. You can't really get a better venue than that for a music production course to be in the room where one of the biggest records of the last decade was recorded. So that sort of top trumps everyone else in terms of location, but didn't cost us very much because we only hired it for 5 days. We didn't have to, have business rates on it and lease a building and pay for it permanently. So it's a different approach, but looking at the location of training as being a strength, we sort of looked at that and thought, okay, how can we have that as a strength and maybe even do it better, but without the cost? And that was what we came up with. So that's just a couple of examples of what we did in the music industry, but I want you to look at the same sort of thing for your industry. So, for example, we've got the person with the wool beds. So look at who sells wool beds, wall mounted beds, and probably just beds in general, or space-saving beds, maybe, not necessarily wall beds, but could just be space-saving beds. And look at what they offer. So you're going to have like IKEA and Benson's beds or whatever. Look at all those different people, and look at what they do, and look at their USPs and what do they do particularly well. Now I know there's a bed supplier where I am in Kent, and they that one of their strap lines from their adverts used to be something like order by lunchtime, delivered by bedtime. So their USP was actually they offered same day delivery on beds. Okay, so that was quite a strong USP for speed of delivery. So that's an example of something in the bed space, but it could be robustness, could be a strength that you play to. Your guarantee, I think, was 10 years. So that sounds like that's probably going to be stronger than most of the others. They're probably going to be 1 or 2 years. It could be that the quality of the product, maybe your product is rated and will support a higher weight than some of the budget things, maybe from IKEA or Argos or something like that. So spend a bit of time, go and have a look and see, if you were a customer looking for the service that you offer, type into Google what you would type into Google and start looking at who are the companies that are appearing on that first page of Google, and try lots of different phrases because you get different companies coming out each time. But start making your list of 10 competitors that you've got that you find on the first page of Google, and then go to their websites, have a look and see what they're doing well, and also note anything they're not doing so well. So off you go and find 10. And when you found the 10, paste them in the chat box. So I know that you've done it and you're not cheating. And we'll then talk about what some of the other companies might be doing well and how you could improve and compete with them. So give you 5 minutes to do that. So all you've really got to do is just Google phrases that you would search for if you were a customer looking for what it is that you offer, and start noting companies down and come up with that list of businesses. Because believe it or not, all too often when I'm doing business coaching, I actually talk to people, and one of the first questions I say, okay, who are your major competitors? Often they don't know, or they'll come up with 1 or 2, and I'll be like, and who else, and who else? And literally they're only even aware of 1 or 2. So it's a really good exercise to do this, to actually just look at 10 different people in your space. And also you get great ideas from looking at their websites as well, because you start to see what they're doing well and what you could be doing as well. So off you go. 5 minutes on that, back in 5. Okay, cool. Lots of you are putting your list in, which is great. So what I now want you to do is for each of those, start looking at what their strengths and weaknesses are. So what do they do well, and what do they not do so well, and what opportunities can you see from kind of what they're doing? Maybe some of these competitors are offering services which you don't currently offer, but you think, actually, I could offer that. And is there a threat that you can see that these competitors maybe offer to you? You might find that there's someone out there that's actually doing something, better. What's an example of the estate agent that we've got on here? So, Purple Bricks, I know, have had a good year and they've done really, really well. So there's obviously a threat to the traditional estate agency for the new operators that are doing the online model, for example. So that's potentially a threat to your industry, a threat to how you're doing things. So good. I can see we've got lots and lots in here in the chat box. So for each of those competitors, start writing next to each one, write down what they do well, and write down what they don't do so well. So it might be that they've got a bad website. It might be that they haven't got any customer reviews on their website. They could be bad things they've got. It might be that something on their website doesn't work. Oh, that's great. That's a weakness they've got. But the strengths might be they've got an amazing website. It might be that they're really, really competitive on price. It might be that they offer really quick delivery. Might be that they have more coverage than you in terms of geographic areas covered, etc. So let's just have a look. So Marilyn's found lots of different anxiety training organizations. So yeah, I haven't looked at each of those, Marilyn, but just for example, I see you've got Mind and Anxiety UK.org. You've got a couple of .orgs there. So a strength that they might have is they're offering free information about dealing with anxiety, and you're competing with them. So their strength is they offer something similar for nothing, and you've got to try and sell something. So you need to be thinking about how can you position yourself and what's different about what you offer versus what they give away for free. Rachel's got some dog training ones. Fantastic. So for dog training, I'll be looking at strengths of them. So, could be like, how many dogs have they trained? What breeds do they have experience with? Weaknesses might be that they haven't been doing it very long, or they haven't got any credentials, any professional affiliations, that kind of thing. They're the kind of factors that if I was looking to get a dog trainer, I'll be looking about. And what about proof? What proof do they have on their website that their stuff works? So have they got some videos of amazingly well-trained dogs before and after? I mean, that'll be a convincing one, wouldn't it, for a dog training company? If you could have a video of like a really unruly dog, and then you could have a video of how well behaved it was after it had been to a dog trainer, that would be pretty convincing evidence. What about customer testimonials from people saying, how amazing their dog is since it's been trained by ABC dog trainers? So that would be a good example of some of the differentiating factors for that industry. Let's just have a look at some others. So Simon is oh no, I've got a humble pie here, Roger, because I've just realised it was Southeast London, not Southwest London. So I said Southwest London earlier, but actually, I don't know. Actually, it's no. Simon's is Southeast, I think. Yeah. Are you Southeast or Southwest, Simon? Roger might have been right all along. So you've got just reading what you've got here. So okay, great. So you've looked at the competitors, and a lot of them have got their it looks like you've taken their sort of elevator pitch and pasted it in there, which is good. So you're looking at what their strengths are. So, I mean, for me, having used a lot of estate agents, I've moved far too many times in my life. The key factors for me, I think, when looking at an estate agent, I'm a kind of metrics person. So I want to know things like how quick does the average house sell? How long is it from going on the market to exchange of contracts, typically for one of the houses that you market? Because that's a benchmark, right? I can see from that metric how well you're doing overall in shifting houses compared with your competitors. Another benchmark might be how close to the asking price do you get typically for your properties? Because I want to know that you're setting a realistic selling price on there as well. Another criteria might be for an estate agent, what's your opening hours? So having sold houses before, some agents are sort of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, some Saturday morning only. But I've used agents that literally do 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days a week, and Sunday mornings as well. So opening hours is another differentiating factor for estate agents. Portal support would be another factor for estate agents. So which portals do you put the properties on? Do you put them on Rightmove? Do you put them on Zoopla? Where else do you put them? How many portals are you a member of? How many sites do you get properties listed on? Do you do any other media advertising as well? Do you feature in, down here we got like the Kent Life magazine, for example? Do you take a regular feature in a glossy magazine to highlight properties that you're selling or not? do I get any extra advertising as well as just listing it on Rightmove, basically? So these are some of the factors that will be relevant in choosing an estate agent. Obviously, rates, so financial. How much do you charge? What's your commission rate? And sometimes you can be innovative as well. I used an agent a couple of years ago to sell a property that did a deal where they charged a commission on the sale price, but they also took a bonus if they could get over the asking price, and it was a higher percentage commission on anything they got over the asking price. So they were kind of incentivized to get offers over the asking price, and I didn't mind paying them a bit extra because they got me more than I was expecting I was going to get. So that's just an example of something a bit different in that estate agency industry. Okay, Rachel's got some more dog trainers there. Cool. So we spoke about examples of dog training ones. Cool. So anyone else got an industry that they're in that they've started looking at competitors for? I can give you some hints and tips on the kind of strengths and weaknesses I'd be thinking of for your industry and some of the things you should be looking at as strengths and weaknesses when you're looking at these other websites. So type in the industry that you're in. If you haven't already posted in the chat, let me know the industry you're in and I can give you some thoughts on that. But otherwise, we're going to move on. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, right, I'm going to move on because that's all that have commented in there. So listen, to not sit here and take loads of time, we've spoken about strengths and weaknesses, but this is a really key exercise. And if you're serious about business, which I hope you are, because you invested in some business training here, you need to do this stuff. This is what sets successful business owners apart from unsuccessful business owners. You need to be willing to put a bit of time in to looking at your market. You kind of a build it and they will come mentality and just think, oh yeah, I'll throw a website up and people will come knocking the door. They just won't. And all that's happening is the internet's getting more and more competitive out there, and you have got to be really clear on your positioning against competitors and why would somebody buy from you. So really important exercise to do this as your homework if you haven't done it. Now, okay, so once you know a bit about your market, you also need to choose what segment of the market do you want to go after, because you might not want all of the customers, for example. So give you an example closely related to one of the ones we just had, which is the dog training. I know someone who does a dog walking service, and they've had a few problem dogs, and the few problem dogs they've had have, surprise, been the sort of pit bull type breeds or crossbreeds or whatever. And they've had a few issues where those dogs have been absolutely fine for weeks and months on walks, and then suddenly one day they've turned and they've attacked another one of the dogs they were walking, or they've attacked another random person's dog while it was out. So they've made a decision that as a market segmentation, they're not gonna go after any of the sort of bigger, more dangerous dogs. Like, that's not their thing, and that's actually now a USP for their dog walking service, because actually people who let their dogs out on to a dog walker on a group walk, they actually feel more reassured that this dog walking service doesn't have any Rottweilers, Alsatians, Pit Bull Terriers, etc. They just don't have any of those breeds. So the chances of their little pooch being set upon by a big nasty pooch are much less. So that's a conscious positioning decision for a market segmentation of going for the smaller to medium-sized breeds, not bigger breeds, for example. Estate agents. I know estate agents that just specialize in high-end properties, so they only touch properties that are over £1 million. So that's segmentation within the estate agency market. It's not worth their time selling cheap little boxes. That's not their thing, and they their USP is that they're used to dealing with high rollers, and they position themselves for dealing with higher end properties. So that's an example of segmentation in that particular market. In the anxiety market for Marilyn, the segmentation there might even be more specifically, you've already got a bit of segmentation on professionals, so you've got a segmentation on client base. There's also potentially segmentation on the kind of anxiety and the kind of way that the anxiety manifests itself, maybe. So you might deal with certain kinds of anxiety in social situations, or we've actually had a hypnotherapist we've worked with before that does things like helping people who are anxious about driving on motorways. That's a very different to a human-to-human interaction anxiety. It's a kind of situation that you're in a vehicle, for example. So that's just some examples. But here are some segmentation criteria you might want to think about for your business. So obviously you've got geographic segmentation. It might be that you only cover a certain area. Demographic, so you've got age, gender, sex, education, occupation. So this is the professional segmentation that you've got, Marilyn, for your anxiety clients. Psychographic, kind of lifestyle, social class, and then purchasing online behavior. So you've got that list there. You can all read those out. But these are kind of, driving factors, early adopters, laggards, etc., those sort of factors. So these are all the things to think about. And it's really important that you're clear what you're going for, because if you don't have a focus, you just try being all things to all people, your days are numbered. I think these days people are so much more going for specialists on everything. That's where the money is. So you need to specialize in something. And if you're the specialist, you'll find it much easier to get clients. Some other useful tools I want to share with you. This is similarweb.com. This is a tool that you can use to actually, and we use this quite a lot on competitors' websites. So what we can do is we can see where our competitors are getting traffic from. This tool will actually tell you which organic keywords are leading people to a competitor's website. And it also tells you if they're running paid ads, what are the paid keywords that they're running ads as well. So this is a really good analysis tool for looking at what your competitors are actually doing. And more specifically for the paid advertising side, this is another tool. So it's a paid for tool. It does have a free trial, and it's not too expensive, about $30 a month. But what this does is basically reverse engineers advertising campaigns. So you can use this to reverse engineer a Google advertising campaign and find out exactly which keywords a business is targeting with their ads. So basically these tools are about spying, reverse engineering, but often if you've got a competitor that's spent a significant amount of time and money doing research and deciding what products and services to offer at what prices and what keywords to focus on, you can basically short circuit all of that learning and just copy what they're doing. You can copy their marketing position and you can copy the keywords that they're running ads on, and save all that market testing time that they've spent money on. So pretty useful techniques. Other things to do in terms of looking at your competitors are to look at your competitors and go to all their websites and join their mailing lists. Go and subscribe to their mailing lists. Go and follow them on social media and see what they're posting about. See what they're sending out to their email list. See what they're posting on their social media channels. See what they're posting on YouTube. And also, you might even want to make a mystery shopper purchase, particularly if you've got a low ticket product. I've done this lots of times. I'll often buy the first product in the sales funnel just to see what happens next. So if there's a 10, 20, 30 quid product, I'll buy it just because I want to learn about what's their follow-up sequence like. What happens next? Do you get an email? Do you get a phone call? What's the next thing they're going to offer me? How much is that? So I'm kind of reverse engineering their business model, because again, if you've got a competitor that's spent time and money and they're doing well, then this is a fast way to play catch up, because you can basically just duplicate their business model because they found out what works and what price points and what products and services sell. So basically start spying on your competitors. If you're serious about business, you can't just guess. You don't need to guess. You can actually just see what your competitors are doing and start following that.